Hey man,
Hey Ravi, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm good. Yes, yes, loud and clear. How are you?
Perfect. I'm good. Good. Good to see you
Brilliant. Same here.
joining. Yeah, I'll just give a brief intro to the people and then I'll let you add to that. So,
Sure.
uh, I've known Ravi for nearly under a decade now. I think 2014 is when
Yeah.
I met and we spent some time together in the mountains in Ladakh. When back then when I was organizing ultra marathons, and he recently shifted to UK around back then, and he has had a lot of experience working in the UK, in France with multiple outdoor gear brands. He has worked with the Decathlon in India for about 8 years, and I think uh, earlier on there were very few people that I knew who were very sort of versatile in terms of kind of activities that they were doing. So I was only meeting people either into running, and a bit of trail running because that was still pretty new in India. And then I then came in Ravi from where I saw him doing mountaineering, self-supported. He's learned skiing, he's learned snowboarding, he's into running as well. So a lot of experience there, and working in I think such sort of different kind of mountain sports. He brings in a lot of experience uh, as as far as the sport itself goes, and a lot on the gear part, which I think I've personally learned a lot from you.
Thanks.
Having a lot of questions myself, and yeah, I think that's I think a brief sort of summary from what I've known about you. Uh, can you take a bit through initially on what kind of adventures you have done uh, across the world? So just to sort of throw in the kind of experience that you have had.
Thanks for the intro, and it's nice to hear. So, what kind of adventures? I've been fortunate to be working in companies which are related to outdoors. So, with work, I've always, of course, explored more. But outside work as well, I was always itchy to travel here and there. So, I've trekked a little bit in Morocco. I've trekked in very tiny bit in Italy. There's a mountain called Gran Paradiso. We climbed that together, a bunch of us. I have trekked a little bit in France. I summited Mont Blanc and some treks around Puy de Midi. Then, of course, one couple of jungle treks. I forgot what was the name of the jungle, but it was in Malaysia. Um, and then in UK, when I was studying, I was fortunate to travel around UK, Peak District, Lake District, but also Scotland, of course, is part of UK, but Cairngorms in Scotland. These are outside India. Of course, in India, we have the best mountains, the tallest mountains. So I managed to spend some time in Ladakh, in Sikkim, even in Gujarat, some nice treks, and Karnataka and Maharashtra a little bit. Yeah, that's on trekking. Of course, I ended up liking skiing and snowboarding as well, and mountaineering. So some formal education in those, but those are just papers. Mostly what you learn on the field, which is more important than any certificate. It can only teach you so much.
Have you gone out practicing snowboarding and skiing anytime recently?
This year I didn't go, but last year and year before I've been going since 2015. So skiing I did till, in fact, skiing I stopped in the last 3 years. I have started doing snowboarding because now I'm married, so my wife also wants to practice some sports, and we are like, let's try something from scratch. So I was also a novice in snowboarding, and both of us like falling so many times and getting up and then walking with snowboard is harder than skiing, because you're tied up. You can't just herringbone up your way to the slope. But yeah, it's fun. Snowboarding is cooler, I think. But yeah, it requires a lot of bruises and a lot of falls. So yeah, getting there.
And Where is this happening? Where do you
In
go out?
Gulmarg, in
Gulmarg.
Gulmarg, because it's accessibility is brilliant.
Right.
You just have to take one flight to Srinagar, and then 1.5 hour you're on the slope, and you can start skiing, snowboarding the same day if you manage to take an early morning flight. So you can still like do it as a weekend thing as well if you want. But of course, you need to be already skiing to be able to enjoy a weekend. Otherwise, the weekend will
Yeah.
just go away so quickly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I think we'll touch upon the kind of sports and the kind of I think this puts in a good nice background of I think where the conversation can sort of go. So talking about the gear and the technicalities of gear, I think we can take examples from all the places that you've been to, different kinds of environment that you've experienced, different kind of activities you've done, and what has really helped you, what has worked, and sort of dive a bit into that. So coming to technical gear, and when you're talking about outdoor mountain sports, what is technical gear, and how do you differentiate that from anything else that's available in the market? Let's say lifestyle brand. If
Yeah.
let's say just to put an example, if there's a jacket, if there's a fluffy jacket,
Yeah.
why choose something that's technical, probably downfield or something else versus what may look similar but and probably cheaper, but maybe colors are different or whatever, but people are sort of attracted and saying, okay, maybe we can go and buy that. So what is the difference?
It's a good question. I'll try to give like examples as well. So technical gear is any gear that is made specifically keeping the user comfort and convenience in mind. Of course, the usage as well. So and now I'll give you example. Think of a hoodie, okay, a winter hoodie. Everybody makes hoodie. All lifestyle brands they make hoodies.
Right.
You would say, "Ha, this is fine for winter because they are selling it for winter and it's polyester. It should be okay." But those lifestyle hoodies, their hood is so oversized. You know, the hip hop guy, like that kind of hood, really big.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, think going to the mountain with that hoodie. You'll be like a parachute, you know, all the winds going in your hoodie and you're feeling cold. That hoodie is not helping you. It is for sure. It's made for winter. That's what they're selling it for. And it works in urban environment where you are going in and out. There's not that much crazy winds going left and right. Another small thing like the toggles that you see on the waist of the jackets, you know, which
Yes.
tighten. You see it on outdoor gear. You don't see it on lifestyle gear.
Right.
Why? Because outdoor gear, they keep in mind that okay, convection happens, and then there is a heat loss because of convection, which means air moves out of your mini ecosystem that you have next to your body.
Yes.
That doesn't happen in lifestyle jacket. Nobody thinks of that. So that small little toggle, which probably costs like 10 rupees to put, but it has a lot of function in outdoor, is missing in lifestyle. So this is just one example. But like you said, in jackets, the down jackets, we have different examples. All the outdoor products are tested for, there are usually two types of tests. Most good brands do it. I'm saying this word very carefully because not everybody does it. Okay. There is a test which you can do in lab. Okay, you have a thermal mannequin. You put a jacket, you heat up the mannequin at like the skin temperature, and then you check how long it takes before the mannequin loses its heat. This is lab conditions. Now temperature can be measured, cold cannot be measured. Okay, cold is a perception. Another example I'll give you: two people, like a couple, in a room in winter, or let's say before winter, they are sleeping. Sometime one will say I want fan, the other one will say no, I feel cold because of fan. uh,
Right.
the temperature is the same. If you put a thermometer in that room, it's going to be same temperature, but one feels colder while the other doesn't. This is perception. Okay, thermoreception it's also called, how you feel the temperature. So that test is done by user testing. Most good brands do it. They will call some people, or they will call the community, or they'll send some 30-50 people in the outdoors wearing those products. And if 80 to 90% people say yeah, this is fine in this temperature, then they okay it. They don't wait for 100% of the people. Okay,
Right.
so that means there is like 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 people who might still feel cold with a jacket which says it's good for -10. Okay, so you will say, I bought a -10 jacket, but I felt cold in -10. How come that is possible? So
Right.
this is just the testing part. Of course, there are some other parts like active and comfort and all. We'll talk about that later. But this is the difference between technical gear and the lifestyle gear.
Right. Yeah, I think that's I think that should really clarify as to the hoodie example was a great one, because I think that's something you notice only when you wear it in those
Yeah,
conditions.
yeah,
In
yeah,
city you may be feeling very sort of fine. I think, yeah, this works, and probably I'm going for my first trek, so maybe I can just carry with this. What's the need of buying something new? But
yeah.
when suddenly the feel goes down. So yeah, actually coming to that now, the temperature comfort rating that goes on insulation layers, like let's say the fleece. Also, I've seen. I think they also carry a certain amount of some certain amount of rating. Like let's say good from 7 degrees to 10 degrees, and then the heavier ones probably lesser, and then the down jackets which are like comfort -5 or something, but limit -10. Now, what is the comfort and the limit? And I've recently seen the shift from labeling from comfort to also active. Like when you're active, then maybe this much of a temperature you can take. But if you're stationary, resting, then that's suddenly, obviously that depends on the body movement.
Yeah.
But how do you sort of make your decision based on that versus layering and everything?
So layering is a very big umbrella. Oh, okay, it's simple but also complex at the same time. Okay, I'll try to give examples. So
Yeah.
I've worked in retail for a very long time. It's 13 years, 12 years I'm working in retail. I remember selling one warmest fleece that you can think of. Like it was almost like 1 inch thick. Okay, it is that thick fleece. I sold to person who said I need it for I need a durable winter jacket. Okay, now fleeces are super durable because they are just one layer. They don't have hollow fiber. They don't have down feathers. They are super durable.
Right.
So if you have a thick fleece and weight is not a concern, fleece is super for you as a winter layer. However, fleeces are not windproof. Okay, most of them, unless there is a membrane. So fleece is like a loosely knitted material, and if you blow through it, like you can do this, and you'll feel the air coming out on the other side. Now,
Right.
this person bought the fleece for like wearing it in the cold. I did not know that this person is going to be riding motorcycle with that fleece. Okay, so when he was doing that in the evening after finishing work, he was feeling cold. He came furious, that you sold me this fleece and it's shit. And I'm like, it should not be, because we are in Hyderabad. Okay, it does not get this cold in Hyderabad. The coldest Hyderabad gets is like 15 degrees. That too, like for maybe 4 or 5 days. Okay, and this
Right.
fleece is good for even below temperatures.
Right.
But he's like, no, I'm feeling cold. I'm like, what are you doing with it? Now it's a stupid question to ask, what are you doing with it? Yeah, he's like, of course I'm wearing it. No, I'm like, explain me a bit more. So then he says, I wear it at night when I'm coming from work. Then, of course, I wanted to hear this because I kind of sussed it out that this person is using it in a condition where there is some wind chill. And wind chill is a big element. This, of course, is a topic I wanted to discuss later anyway. Wind chill can change the temperature rating of anything, okay, or your cold perception, because a temperature when, let's say, 0 degree, okay, very common temperature, or -10, also very common in treks when you go, especially higher altitude. So a -10 degree at 5 km/h wind will actually feel like -13. Okay. Now, not much difference. 10,
Yeah.
-10 to -13. Okay, bearable. The moment I make that wind 50 km/h, which is quite possible when you're doing summit nights are usually like nights. Okay.
Right.
And night temperature is lower than day temperature. So -10 is very common if you're doing any of these treks which are high altitude and you're summiting at night. Okay. So -10, and the higher you go, winds increase. So if you have 50 km/h wind, that -10 becomes -25. Okay, changes the equation entirely. So now you're, even the best jacket, you're like, I'm shivering, I'm feeling cold. What do I do? So wind chill is the most, one of the most dangerous things in the mountain, which is not visible. Okay, it's there. If you don't have the right gear, if you don't have windproof products, it's you are in trouble. So that's one thing on the wind part. But our body is a very bad engine. Okay, it's a machine. It's a very bad machine. It is only like 20 to 30% efficient. Okay, the rest is heat loss. So even when I'm moving my arm, my underarm is warming up a little bit. Why? Because this is the heat loss that is happening just to do this function. Okay, and this heat loss happens all the time, even when we are sleeping. Okay, so and it happens more from the extremities, like head, hands, like your hands, feet, ears, nose, all this. So if you are static and you're not moving, your body is not producing that heat which it would produce otherwise while you're moving. So your static temperature is lesser, like you're radiating lesser heat. Okay, because that heat is coming out less. So that product, when you're wearing it and not moving, might feel different, while the same product if you're running. So you will see runners in winter, like in Delhi as well, in cold winter, they are okay with just like this thin layer of full sleeve jacket, this thin beanie, thin gloves, and full tights. But they're all very thin. And the temperature is like almost 5 degrees or 0 degrees. How come that person is wearing like so thin in Delhi winters? Is because he's moving or she's moving so fast that that body is producing a lot of heat. So this is active usage versus passive usage, which I explained earlier. I hope that answers your question. It was a long answer, but
no, it does. That's why we have you on the call, because you go into these details that no one else does. So yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and that's why I think yeah, wind, obviously, even static cold. I would say, taking my example of running in winters. Yes, obviously, I sometimes start with two layers, but as the body warms up and as you're producing more heat, then suddenly the outer layer comes off.
yeah,
But I think wind is still the factor, because if the wind is on that day pretty strong, I would still, want to have, because it's a very crazy mix between you sweating as well and then still feeling the winter chill,
you feel
wind chill,
colder, much colder. Yeah,
colder, and because suddenly that layer, because there's a gap between your skin and the layer, and you're wet. Suddenly, when the wind is coming from the back and it touches your skin, you feel that some ice slab has been put on your back.
Yeah.
Uh,
That
that sort of a feeling goes.
that is what convection is, stripping your heat from the body with the air acting as a fluid. So yeah, that's how you feel cold.
Right. Okay. Now coming to finding a bit of a solution, or making a decision to when you're going out to the store and when you're buying. So sometimes what happens is, when you go to a big store, like for example, Decathlon, and the AC is running pretty strong, and you wear a -5 jacket, and you're like, okay, because it's cheaper, I'm feeling pretty warm now. I think this should work. And obviously the conditions are not kept in mind of the wind and everything else.
Yeah,
So if you're going for something where the temperatures are, when you're at the camp, let's say you've finished the trek and the temperatures are hitting -7, -8, it's like in between, and you're confused. Okay, if you have -10 jacket, I think that solves the purpose. But if, let's say, if you don't have that, then how can you layer up to certainly increase the efficacy of -5, if it can go ever beyond that sort of a comfort level?
so first of all, it's super important to prepare before like going for any trek or any expedition. You should know where you're going, who you're going with, and what you need to accomplish it, in terms of skill, equipment, all the knowledge and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's focus on equipment, because assuming everything else is taken care of. Okay. So equipment, of course, it's important and good that if you have the capacity to invest, you get the right product. Okay. You know, this is my temperature going to be, you buy that. If for some reason you are unable to do that, then we're going to ask this question like, okay, what is the solution? The thing is, you also don't want to layer up too many layers. Like, you don't want to be an onion. Okay.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, in the end, like you said, you're sweating and that wind makes you feel cold. In the end, no matter what you do, even when you're sleeping at the campsite, you are sweating. So that sweat, if there are multiple layers, it cannot pass through so many layers. Okay, that sweat can only pass through as long as it's in the vapor form. The moment it becomes liquid, it cannot pass further. Okay.
Right.
Because outside temperature is cold. If outside temperature is warm and it's liquid, it can move. Okay, because then you have air working in, you have radiation from the sun, you have multiple other things. But we are talking about night time, we are talking about evening time or early morning time. You have this layer against you, and then you have like 20 other layers. The moisture will be between those layers. It's not going to go out, and that moisture at night is going to make you feel cold. The same moisture from your body will make you feel even cold. So you want to get rid of the moisture. So you want ideally the least amount of layers when you are static. Okay. But if you are in the sleeping bag, ideally 1 or 2 layer is good. Some people have sleeping bag liner. Some people have a thermal polyester, like full body polyester, full body this one. And some people sleep commando, okay, inside, because that heats up the sleeping bag faster. If your sleeping bag is good enough, it is trapping the heat, it works fine. Second thing to do is wear layers before you start feeling cold. Okay. No jacket in the world, no sleeping bag in the world generates heat unless there is an external heat element generator. Like some Columbia boots have this button, you press it and it starts to heat up. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like normal technology, a normal sleeping bag. It doesn't generate heat. It only traps your body heat, the same heat that is generated by your body. Okay. So before your body cools down, put on that layer. Okay. So it will eventually warm up a little bit. I've seen so many times people reach the campsite and they don't take out their down jacket, they don't take out their sleeping bag, and they do it like when they start feeling cold, they're like, I'm feeling cold. Now they're going to put the jacket. Now they're already cold, remember? Yeah. Okay, they're already cold. This jacket, how is it going to heat up? This jacket is not going to heat up because you were cold to begin with.
True.
So now you have just like slowed down your own comfort by just like putting it so late. So put it on the moment you reach. And I used to like be a rebel, like I'm not feeling cold, I'm so cool, I'm not feeling cold now. Like this is like when I was so new, and my training in Cotswold was, I was fortunate that there were some really good guides who explained me this, that even if you're not feeling cold, it's okay, put the jacket on. If you feel hot, open the zip. That's simple. Okay, if you feel hot, open the zip. You also don't want to sweat to cool down. Okay, right. But put the jacket on. Don't be a macho. You don't want to be a macho in the mountain. Everything else is cool. Okay, so if you do that, then you are making that jacket warmer much earlier, and you'll find that this is much more comfortable than wearing it in the end. Same goes for sleeping bag. You need to take out your sleeping bag and air it out as much as possible so it fluffs up. All the sleeping bag, down feather or your synthetic, they need to fluff up. They need to absorb a lot of air, and then you get in while you're warm, and then strip inside the sleeping bag. Then it'll heat up. Okay, don't strip first and then figure out how to get in the sleeping bag. So this your body, use your body heat. That is your friend in the mountain. Yes. If you don't have a good anything, you need to do jumping jacks. You need to do some like movement which will generate additional heat. Yeah, like when we feel cold, we start to shiver. That is our muscles vibrating to generate like body heat. So we have to mimic or we have to figure out a way to do that.
Right.
This is my, yeah.
So it's also important as you when you reach the camp and when you're let's say you're already warmed up for some time
Yeah,
and you're also in some wet layers because you have been
yeah,
sweating through the day, so it's important
for
to
sure.
change into the dry layer.
Change to dry layers. Yeah.
That otherwise, because if you wear down jacket over it, I don't think that will put as much of an
No, it's
effect.
all, yeah. Also, those it takes a while for those layers, like base layers, to dry.
Yeah.
So you don't want to sleep in them because now the moisture is gonna, again, what you mentioned, that I feel cold while running if I'm not wearing the jacket.
Yeah.
That chill effect will come later. So it's important to have a separate pair for night, but not cotton, not cotton. It has to be wool, merino, or whatever, or synthetic polyester, not nylon as well. Nylon is also makes you feel cold.
If you can just briefly share why not cotton.
Cotton is a great summer fabric. Okay, it's very comfortable against skin. Is brilliant for. It's very durable. It absorbs moisture, but it is not hydrophobic. It's hydrophilic. It loves water. It doesn't hate water. Like a cotton towel or a cotton jeans. How long it takes for a cotton jeans to dry without putting in the dryer? Okay, it takes ages for it to dry, like a
Right.
full sunny day. If you don't live in a place where it's nice and sunny, that will take like a long time to dry. So cotton, that moisture, if it absorbs, it just loves holding that moisture, doesn't get rid of it. Polyester, on the other hand, is hydrophobic. It doesn't like water. It will dry out very faster. So these quick dry towels, you will see they're made of polyester. Dry fit t-shirts, you will see are made of polyester. Nylon also is hydrophobic, but nylon is not insulating. So if we are talking about insulating and hydrophobic, then polyester is brilliant. It is also cheaper than nylon. It's a little less durable. That's a different story, but it's a great fabric for this. Wool if you want something natural. Silk if you want something natural. These are also good fibers.
Uh, Coming to the jackets and the sleeping bags, so I think there's a from one end of the price band to the other, or probably even weight. There's a synthetic fill and then there's a down fill. Uh, so what are the differences, and what should you choose depending on activity, temperature? If you can just touch upon
So
that.
for any given temperature, let's take for this argument 0 degrees. We have a synthetic option and we have a down sleeping bag option. Okay, we're talking about sleeping bag. Also jackets, it applies. The same thing applies to jackets as well. We have two options. Now at where we are currently, the technology is, it's almost getting there, but it's not the same. Down will always be lighter, at least while we're having this conversation. 5 years down the line, maybe synthetic will beat down. But right now, down is lighter for the warmth to weight ratio. So if I'm
Right.
talking about same amount of warmth for the weight, then down will have much lesser weight compared to synthetic. So synthetic can be 1.5 kilos to 2 kilos for 0 degrees, above 1 kilo for sure, but down can be 800 gram to 1.5, depending on which quality down it is and what is the density and all those things. So
Right.
weight, super important. Uh, Comfort, of course, down also is a lot more comfortable to sleep in. Down has some disadvantages. Down is not good for I would not take a down sleeping bag for temperatures -10 or above. Let's say -5, 0, +5, +10. I would choose synthetic always. Why? Because in those temperature, it mostly rains, or the moisture is not solid like snow. Okay, precipitation it is wet. It's melting.
Right.
Down, once it gets wet, it is the worst thing you can have. Like a chicken, but just think the chicken has just had a bath. Okay, all the feathers like this, they are dead. Zero insulation. You might not want to be in the sleeping bag. Better to sleep outside and put some leaf on than that wet down sleeping bag. So down is worse once it gets wet. Synthetic wins in that time. We have tried one time where we wore the synthetic jacket once it was fully drenched in water and it was still comfortable to wear. It was not making us feel cold. That is the beauty of synthetic. There are some newer technologies in synthetic. Earlier, there were hollow fiber sheets, so like one sheet on top of other, what you find in pillows mostly. Okay, so
Right.
pillow is quite bulky, but now they are trying to mimic down. They are making like these tiny loose hollow fiber, uh, just crystals, or not crystals, but just like mimicking down exactly.
Right.
And these are they're coming very close to the same weight, same size of down. Maybe soon we'll have a substitute, and I think we should look at substitute, because for sustainability, because we are taking it from a bird and all that, animal cruelty, but also versatility. Like synthetic is so versatile. If it can do the same job in terms of weight, in terms of compression, then it is superior, because we don't need to worry about like it getting wet. I worry so much that if my down sleeping bag gets wet, I'm gonna be dead. So I put it in a bag which is waterproof and then put it inside my sleeping backpack. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that fills in a big question part of it. So obviously, uh, uh, coming to also coming to the rain part, like when it's wet. Uh, like I think one question that I earlier had when you were talking about the comfort and the active level was that if the wind at 20-30 kilometers per hour is increasing the chill factor
Yeah.
of the feel, is there like a hard shell or some other layer that you can wear on top of your down jacket?
Yes.
Because I believe there are very few down jackets that are completely windproof.
Yeah,
Uh,
there are, but they don't make it. They don't make them deliberately, because then it just has. It's not as versatile. It doesn't pack as small. It's always going to be bulky. You're assuming
right,
that you're always going to be in rainy conditions. So they give you that freedom, that buy a shell on top of it.
right,
But yes, very good point. You should always wear a shell if you are in temperatures where A, it is close to -10, B, it is windy, for two reasons. One is when it's snowing and it is -10 degrees, okay, or -5 degrees, and it's snowing for like 6-7 hours, okay. So this down jacket of yours is water repellent, not waterproof.
right.
Snow is solid water. Once it sits on your shoulder, your body heat melts that snow and makes it water. And after a while, that seeps in. So you will see that now here, shoulder, it becomes like much flatter. It's no more like fluffy. So for sure, I would put a hard shell on top of my jacket. And of course, like you mentioned, wind chill. If you are somewhere where it's more than 5 kilometer, more than 10 kilometer per hour wind, for sure have a shell. Otherwise, that jacket's not going to give you the same warmth what is mentioned on it. And all big brands, they say it usually that okay, our jacket is tested with -5 degree wind factor, or ours is tested in -10.
Right.
Some brands, the new ones, might not say yet, because all this testing also requires cost. You have to send it to a separate lab, or if you have an in-house lab, is also a cost.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Uh, so that combining the snow and the down part, and you said that obviously it would be good to have a hard shell on it. And it recently happened with me as I told you I we went for a recce for a trail run, and we were caught in this March sort of snow, mid-March snow, which is obviously full of moisture, and that snow so anyways doesn't stick along. And I was wearing a hard shell, and I was wearing probably a fleece below that, and a hard shell. And what I really noticed, what I think because of the sort of the humidity in the air, and also because maybe the hard shell is old, is that some sort of waterproofing capacity has sort of gone down. So
Yeah.
after walking for about 3 hours of light rain and then sort of heavy snow, I think some amount seeped in. So what would you choose in terms of hardship? Like how do you what do you look out for in specs to ensure that you are able to endure a summit night, let's say, or even a snow trek where it's cold, you're wearing the down jacket, but you're also having something that is protecting you from getting wet.
So first of all the shells, they come with some rating. Okay, there are standards. Let's talk about that first. This is called hydrostatic head. There is a French name to it, but let's not get into that. This test is basically to check the waterproofing of this fabric. Okay, only fabric, not construction and not design. Both the things, because you can have a banyan with
Yeah,
waterproof material and it will pass that test because it's only testing the fabric. The test doesn't understand that it doesn't have sleeves. It has holes here. Okay. Or yeah, or like zips which open up completely and there is mesh behind, so it doesn't do any of that. The test is purely for the fabric.
right,
So you have done the test, hydrostatic head 20,000, 10,000 mm. All these brands now they mention that. Everybody now is starting to be super clever. They're mentioning the before wash figures. Okay, like you buy a t-shirt, it you buy a medium or a large size and it you wash it once and it shrinks to a small size.
right,
Okay, so after washing things change, right? So this jacket also comes with a waxy coating. It's called DWR, durable water repellent. This waxy
right,
coating goes away after 4 or 5 washes, or goes, I mean, doesn't go away completely but reduces. Okay,
right,
uh, you this most brands sell this spray, like a sort of liquid wax spray, which you spray it on your jacket, put it in some heat enclosure like a dryer, or like a not a strong sun but a decent sun, and heat activates these molecules and they become like umbrellas again, like mini umbrellas. Otherwise they are like dead like this. So this heat activated molecules, they're starting, and they are hydrophobic. Okay, they're not hydrophilic, they're hydrophobic, they hate water. So these brands, what they're mentioning 10,000 is before wash. After wash, the same 10,000 becomes 8,000 or 7,000. Okay, but this figure is less, and less looks bad. So everybody wants to now use the inflated figures, which are technically not a reality. In reality, what you said, after a while it started seeping in. Okay, that
right.
is reality. Reality is a lot worse than this picture that is shown to us. So I would first look for above 10,000 mm of waterproofing, because I know that it will be 8,000 after wash or whatever. My current jacket, I think I have two jackets. One is a Gore-Tex Pro Shell. That one is 28,000 because it's an older Pro Shell. And then I have one which is Decathlon's waterproofing, which is I think 15,000. But that 15,000 also leaked, and this Gore-Tex is quite old. It's like a decade old jacket. But this is only about fabric. If there is there are jackets, your shirt also has this stitching. My t-shirt also has this stitching. Behind
Yeah.
this stitching, there need to be a waterproof tape. Okay,
Seam taping,
if
what
you
you
need to
say.
make a waterproof, yeah. These are called seams, and you need to tape the seam if you want to make a good waterproof jacket. Your test will still pass because the 10,000 mm is on fabric, right? It's not on the seams. But a shower test where you put the full finished good under a shower and then it doesn't leak, that's a reality test. Hydrostatic is only on the fabric. Okay.
Right.
So you need to ensure that all your stitching has a tape behind. So when you're buying, you check, oh, does it have a tape or no? The best way is you do the jacket inside out, and you will see some places there might be tape, some places there might not be tape, and you
Right.
can feel this. This tape is quite hard, so you can even feel it, even if there's another layer behind. You
Yeah.
can run your finger and you can feel this tape. So this tape is important. Good number of hydrostatic head is important, and construction is important. Like a hood needs to have like a secure adjustments. Okay, two adjustment here, one adjustment here, so hood moves with you. If the hood is like that hip hop hood, then you then you're gonna get wet from here, right? So the construction, that is construction. This is that is design. Sorry, that is design. This is construction, and the last one is the fabric waterproofing. These three things you need to look at when you are buying a jacket which is going to be for the purpose.
I think there's some brands that I've seen that they seam tape even from the outside to probably, I don't know, there's like a seam taping probably from inside as well, but I've seen from outside as
Normally,
well.
normally it's done from inside, because if you put it on outside with the backpack strap with everything else, it's gonna wear out. It is maybe aesthetic purpose, but functionally it is like it's a bit stupid to have it outside.
I've seen some of
Inside
the pockets, the jacket pockets are sort of seam taped from outside,
pockets,
just to
yes,
probably
pockets,
remove weight.
yeah. Pockets, yes, because that's the only way they can put that pocket, because it's a waterproof jacket. They don't want to stitch it. They
Right.
don't want to stitch it. They want to, it's called thermo bonding. So that tape is just stuck, that pocket is just stuck on top of the t-shirt or sorry, on top of the jacket. And
Right.
it's like glued with a thermal glue. The problem with thermo bonding is it's not durable. When I say it's not durable, a couple of years, no problem. But I have so many products which are thermo bonded. All of them, they just fall off. It's like
Yeah.
a old glue which does not work anymore. Like a tape, cello tape you stuck somewhere, and that cello tape is falling after some time. So thermo bonding is not so good in terms of durability.
Right.
Uh, Stitching is always going to be superior because you have an actual thread, but stitching need to be taped again because that needle has made a tiny hole and water can go through there.
Right. Okay, can you shift to a bit of center because we can only see
Oh,
half of you.
sorry. I've started falling off from my chair clearly.
Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Pepper is here. Mr. Pepper and I used to work in Cotswold Outdoor
Oh,
in London. He
okay.
was my boss actually, one of the best guys. Hey,
Right.
Chris.
Okay. So yeah, those numbers that we were talking about, the 2000 mm and the 10,000 mm. Can you tell a bit about that? What do they indicate?
It's if I have to super simplify it, imagine like a fabric, piece of fabric, and then you have a tower, okay, like a cylinder, okay, and you fill up as much water as you want. This is like a cylinder which goes unlimited height. The moment this fabric starts to leak water from the other side, that pressure is measured in length. This length is the that they put on. Okay, this is the simplest. Now take this example and let's put it when you go diving or when you go swimming. The deeper you go in the pool or the deeper you go in the ocean, you feel the pressure on your ears, right? That is the pressure of water. It's the same thing here on the fabric. So if this is tall pipe, it is 20,000 mm, which is 20 meters of water column. This fabric can take. There's no hole. Sorry, there's hole in reality. Here there's a bottle. I'm just explaining. But this pipe, if 20 meters of water can be taken by this fabric without leaking, then that is the waterproofing of the fabric. That's the test. Of course, it's
Can
done with
that
machine and not like
uh,
that.
can, can that 20 meters be translated into some sort of a duration or
Yes and
some sort
no.
of
First of all, just to give you an idea, anything can be put like a tag which says waterproof if it passes 1.5 meter. Okay, if it's 1.5, it's okay. Test is now it's waterproof. Europe and UK have different standards, but let's just take it for 1.5 for now because I think one of them is 1.2 meter. But in reality, when it rains, especially like our conditions, and our conditions are also very different because I was in Agumbe, which is in Karnataka, and the rains over there, it's called Cherrapunji of South, by the way. The rains over there are crazy. It rains so much that no matter how good your jacket is, after a while it might leak. It might because there might be water from the pocket or somewhere else that it comes in, not maybe from the fabric but other places. So the what you said duration, a Mumbai 4 hour rain or a Cherrapunji 4 hour rain or a Agumbe 4 hour rain is not going to be same as rain in Gujarat or rain in somewhere else. So
Right.
duration changes on the intensity for sure. There is no, and this is not measured anywhere. So it's really, I don't want to give anything which is not like solid concrete. It's it's a guesstimate. It's a conviction that okay, this many hours of rain is going to be fine.
Right.
What a lot of brands do is once they make the finish good, because hydrostatic is only on the fabric. You can send a fabric to the lab. You don't have to send the whole jacket. You just send a piece of fabric. They will test and they're like, oh, this is this much. The finished good is what is more important. You put that on a mannequin and do a shower test and see if there are like any patches on the mannequin that are wet. That you can say, oh, this jacket is okay for 4 hours under 200 liter per second rain. Okay, that can be measured. Time can be measured. Amount of water pouring can be measured. All of that can be measured. But in real world, it's rain today is not the same as rain tomorrow. Rain in Cherrapunji is not the same as rain in Bangalore. Bangalore, it rains crazy every day. It rains, but it's so drizzle. It's like so tiny. It's just annoying. It just like for 10 hours it's raining. But some places it rains for like 10 minutes and that's it. And the whole cloud just finishes, empties its pocket and goes like, okay, I'm done. So rain, it's. I don't want to just say for the sake.
Understand. Okay. Uh, Another thing I had in mind was the shoes. Shoes also similar. Actually, before shoes. So if let's say if you have this jacket that you have been using for years, and I think I mean even if you don't wash it, but if you are exposing it to enough rain and those conditions, wet conditions that you have, I think that itself sort of reduces the efficacy, and that some sort of that wax is going off over a period of years.
Yeah.
So when do you take a decision of let's say putting a spray on if that's available, or you actually want to, when do you plan to change your jacket? Let's say
So
yeah.
a lot of it is very easy to see. When you get the new jacket, no, just spray a little bit of water on it. Water will be like beads. It'll roll off. Like like when you make dosa on the pan,
Yeah.
and that guy throws some water on the dosa pan. This water like runs around the pan. Okay,
Because
it's
of
like a bead. Yeah, it's
yeah.
just moving. That beading effect happens on a brand new jacket. Until that beading effect is happening, your jacket is performing at its best. It's like in its youth. The moment that beading effect goes away, it's getting into that old age. Now it needs some TLC.
When
Um,
they sort of drip down slowly instead of
yeah. You see the fabric absorbing that water now. It's no longer like rolling off like that. Then it's time to spray it. That is
okay.
on the spray. But after like few years, of course, there are two things. One is the usage and the other is age. Even if you put it in your cupboard nicely for a decade, and you're like, I have not used it, I'm going to use it after a decade for whatever reason. You bought the wrong size, you became fat after like decade, and you're like, now it fits me perfect.
Yeah.
But you might find that, oh, this tape is coming off, this waterproof tape is coming off on its own. This
Right.
coating is crumbling because coating is made of either polyurethane, which is technically a foam, or PTFE or ePTFE, which is your plumber's tape, Teflon, all those things.
Right.
They are technically plastic. They will degrade. It's called hydrolysis as well. With moisture in the air, it degrades over time. They have a life, just like we have a life. So you cannot do much about that aging. Aging is yeah, you can't do much about aging. On the usage, if you are a trekker who is, let's say, a guide, a mountain guide, where you are in the mountain for batches after batches you're taking, and that
Yeah.
jacket is getting like battered, then you might say, yeah, after 2 years I need to replace my jacket. So one is usage, depending on the usage, and the other is aging. There is only so much the jacket will last. 5 years, if the jacket has done well, if you are using it regularly, it's a good life. After 5 years, you're just on a borrowed time. Like the jacket is just, supporting you as best as it can. But yeah,
Right.
5 years I would say.
Coming to the last bit of gear, like sort of a classification would be shoes. And now because like let's say you go to the store and you see all shoes are waterproof shoes. Like you see trekking boots and they're like waterproof, waterproof, waterproof. But then the prices vary, and then you see that certain materials as well. They're changing or everything, and you wear, but you think that okay, this is cheaper and maybe this is feeling lighter. Should I go with this? This will be more comfortable. And it's just trying it in the store for about a few minutes. I think that's a very sort of a less sort of a time that the least that you can spend with something that you're going to use it for years to come, let's say,
Yeah.
or at least certain miles. How do you make the best sort of, buying decision for them? Like what to look out for in a
So
trekking shoe?
So when I was helping people in retail, I ensured they try the boot first. Okay, when you're going to a store, you might want to buy like 10 things. Go and try the boots first. Everything else is after. Okay, and you try the boots. You figured out, okay, this is the boot I want to check if this is right. You keep it on. Don't take it off. Keep it on for the entire time. I mean, don't walk out of the store. Okay, maybe keep it on and stay inside the store and try other things like bags and other torches and whatever you want to try, but keep the boots on. If after like half an hour you'll feel, if they are, you didn't notice them, that's a good thing.
Ah,
If you didn't notice the boots, that's a good thing. You don't want to notice them. Okay, you don't want to see, this is paining on my ankle, or I'm feeling this pinky finger being crushed, or am my bunion, I'm feeling it being squeezed there, or I don't have enough room for my toes. All those things that you're noticing, that's the bad thing. So not noticing is a good thing. So put the boots on. Of course, there are few things to see what is a right boot to try. One thing you have to make sure is you don't buy the same size as your foot. You need to have like this one finger room in the front for you to be able to wiggle your toes. Also, your feet swell in the afternoon after walking for like hours or so. Your feet swell. So good time to actually try the boots is afternoon or evening, not mornings. So when you go to a store, you go and try the boots, ideally after like whatever lunchtime or evening. I know it gets busy, but that's the best time your foot is in the maximum size. That's one thing. Second is keep that one finger room. Make sure you're able to wiggle your toes inside the boot while the laces are done, not like undone. Okay. Then once you tie the laces, walk around. If there's a ramp, you try bang your foot a little bit. See if the toes are hitting the front, because that's simulating walking downhill. You don't want the toes
right.
to hit the front. Okay. That's the fitting. We're talking about only fitting here. We're not talking about features. Okay. So once you know the right fitting, you have to, before that, in fact, before that, you have to identify, are you going to be carrying a lot of weight? Are you a trekker who likes to go with organized treks? And in the organized treks, a lot of your luggage is offloaded on the animals, in some cases, porters. Okay. So you are not carrying 20 kgs on your back. You are carrying like 5 to 8 kgs on your back.
Right.
This plays a big part in deciding what boot you want. The more supportive boots do tend to be more expensive because they have like a stiffer sole or a stiffer midsole or a thick ankle to provide more support and stop your foot from rolling left right, because
Right.
you can sprain your ankle when you have additional weight on your backpack. This is new center of gravity changes, like normally it's like near your navel and all, but the moment you have a turtle kind of thing at the back, you are not the same stable person, right? So
Right.
your boot needs to be higher. They need to be a different shape if you're carrying extra weight. If you're a person who's like, no, I am not going to be carrying everything by myself, I will always go with a trekking company and I go for small hikes and all, then you can buy the less supportive ones, and that's fine. You will see, and a lot of it is also conditioning. Okay.
Okay.
This is very common. You will see porters, you will see Sherpas wearing flip-flops in the mountains, and their calves are like this big, my
Yeah.
thigh might be like their calves. They're monsters and they're running so fast. And they inspire me so much, these guys. With the least amount of comfort, they are like, performing at the apex. So I
Uh,
sometimes just think like, I want to give some stuff, but then I always forget light stuff I carry like t-shirt and all, but a boot carrying for them is inconvenient. So anyway, the reason I was explaining was conditioning. The more you condition, the better your whole anatomy will get. And that's where I've heard so many people giving this advice that no, trail running shoes are good enough for trekking. I've heard this from people, and
right.
I'm like, no, they're not. They might be good for you, they might be
Yeah.
good for some, but they are not good for all. You will break your ankle with the one rolling stone that you put your foot on. The stone rolls, and with the backpack, you're just not stable anymore. You're gone, and
True.
you will have a swollen ankle. So they are not good for all. They might be good for some. So we have to identify where are we. Okay, what is our usage? What is our conditioning? There is aspiration for sure. You can be here today and you want to be there tomorrow. So you can buy that thing or you can buy this thing, but don't buy the one below. Okay.
That's
Did that like make it,
absolutely.
more sensible?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, I think the first itself, not taking it off and just going through
Yeah.
your entire time in the store, not noticing, I think that is very important because the moment you start, that's what happens because you have been otherwise comfortable in your sneakers or running shoes or whatever, and then when you wear something like a mountaineering boot or a trekking boot, it feels different.
Yeah, for sure.
Now,
It feels restrictive around
how
the ankle. Yeah.
and how different is it? I think there is some to define that. I think that was important. I think you've done that well. So yeah,
Thank you.
uh, I think we have covered most of the important stuff that I had in mind about it. Anything else that you want to share on the gay part? Anything from your experiences from these different conditions in UK, Scotland, and then the Himalayas? What have been your sort of learnings or key picks
So,
or
so on the gear, I learned something. I when I was working in Cotswold, I bought this mat. Okay, on a pro discount, we used to get this amazing discount from Exped. Okay, Exped is like a Swiss brand.
yeah,
No, is it Swiss? I think it's Swiss. Yeah,
it is.
maybe.
It is.
And they make these amazing fancy mats. Okay, so I bought this Best Pro mat, which is the Sin mat. Okay, it is a inflatable mat which has synthetic insulation inside. Okay, so air plus synthetic insulation. It's like
Right.
next level. It's not just air. Every other inflatable mat, you will just have air, or you have a foam. This is loose synthetic insulation like down, so it mimics down. Okay, there is a Sin down mat as no, there's a down mat as well. There's a Sin mat. So I bought the Sin mat, but the thing is, it is thermo bonded across. Now, now, in one of my treks, one of the chambers, two chambers decided to meet and become like one big chamber. So I have a blob on one side. On one trek, it was just a blob. Then the second trek I took, that blob became like a bigger blob. So now I have like a boat, okay? And this is, dude, this mat was so expensive. I hate to even remember buying it. But anyway, it was a shitty purchase. In India, we don't need this kind of mat. The mat I bought after from Decathlon, the foam mat, it was Arpana's 200. Now it's discontinued because they have come up with a Z foam mat. I bought that one. That foam mat was 1,000 rupees, and this sin mat was, I think, 10,000 or whatever. This is better. It has so many holes. It has like it is battered, but it has worked for me so well because in Ladakh we have a lot of rocks. The
Yeah.
campsite are not green, lush, meadows. They're very rocky.
Yeah.
So and Sikkim as well, same thing. The grassland is less towards Goechala and all. As you go higher, Zongri, it's all rocky. So these mats, they get punctured, they get battered, they might be nice, but for our conditions, the foam, cheap foam mat, but good thickness, huh? Not less than one centimeter. It needs to be above 1 centimeter. That works perfect. So sometimes you don't need the most expensive gear. Sometimes you need to identify your needs. So that is on the gear part, and on conditions, I would say two things that are not talked about so much. One we already covered is the wind chill. Wind chill in the mountain, you cannot see it, but it is one of the biggest dangers. Second is fog. Fog is something which people don't talk about so much. People always stick to cold and sun and all those, rain, because they are like more scarier and you feel. But fog, man, people get lost in fog. There are times when I have been on a mountain on a path, and it's snowing and there is fog and little bit of snow. My track is gone. I don't know where am I. It's like everything is same. Left is same, right is same, front is same, back is same. So you need good navigation skills. You need gadgets, or you need to be evacuating yourself from the fog before you are trapped inside. Because if you lose your bearings in the mountain, it's the worst thing you can do to yourself. No matter how much energy you have, food you have, they'll get exhausted if you are not sure where you are. And fog makes you do that. So it happened with me on Mont Blanc. We were on the summit, and we just, in fact, we reached the summit just as it started to fog up, and we had a choice to come back. And it's the shittiest decision that I made. One of the shittiest. We didn't come back. We were greedy to reach the summit. So we are like, okay, we are only 1 hour away. We can see the summit. Let's just quickly go, and then we'll come back the same way. No stress. We had a hut booked on the other side of Mont Blanc. I think it's called Dôme des Gouttes. So we're like, we'll go to the hut otherwise. That is the plan. But once we reached the summit, we're on top, and it was already snowing. Our tracks were gone, and we didn't know where we are. And Mont Blanc is a very on the peak. It's very tiny bit is flat. Everything else is like one side is Switzerland, one side is Italy, one side is France. It's a very tricky place, and we decided to figure our way. And yeah, it was anyway. That story is it ends very not the way I want it to end, but okay. I would say fog. Just remember, fog is a scary thing in the mountains.
So probably if it's foggy and you're heading out the mountain, just wait it out. I think that's what.
Be in a place where you are, more secure. If that is your tent, it's good. If that is your base camp, it's good. And be with someone who knows. Like, don't go just by yourself. Even when you are with friends, ensure that somebody knows more than you. And secondly, is always be a mini leader. Even if there is a leader, keep your senses open. A lot of time it has happened that I have taken a back seat because the person who was taking me was 60 years old, and he's like known in the mountains. Like, he's done that path for quite some time, and I'm like, okay, I'm a follower, because sometimes it's nice to switch off and just like enjoy. But that's a bad thing. You can end up in worse situations. So keep your senses open. You might have a leader, trek leader, but know where you're coming from or which turn you took. Forest can be dangerous because sometimes paths diverge, and they diverge slowly, and you can be far off from where you wanted to be, because that 5-degree angle is becoming like so big if you walk for like 2-3 kilometers. Yeah,
I think that was an amazing conversation.
Likewise, I enjoyed it.
You can take off and rest a bit. You must have had a long day at work.
Yeah. My day was quite long. We do have some questions, I think. I don't know if people are asking, but one question I see.
Yeah, this is one question. Which tent we should use after 5,000 meter?
Yeah. So, good question. 5,000 meter in India is different than 5,000 meter in Alps. So Mont Blanc is 4810, which is lower than Khardungla, but Mont Blanc kills more people than any other mountain that I've known. I mean, of course, in that altitude, there are the K2s and all, but in that altitude, Mont Blanc takes more life than others. So 5,000 over there, I would for sure take a mountaineering tent, which is a geodesic design. Geodesic is more poles crossing each other, more than three. In India, 5,000 meter you can do with a semi-geodesic, which means three poles crossing each other. And aluminium poles for sure, because we also get a good amount of wind. We might not get the crazy heavy snow load at that altitude. 5,000 meter might still be rocky in at least Leh in Sikkim. In Uttarakhand, Himachal, you might still get a lot of snow because they are on the range. One side is rain shadow, the other one is Lee Valley, Lee side.
Leeward side.
That's leeward side, yeah. So they are on that side, so you might get snow on that side. So depending on where you are, but for sure semi-geodesic aluminium poles or better. Aluminium is like good price. Carbon and all are too expensive. Steel is heavy. No steel. Fiberglass is also not good. It can crack in those temperatures. So there are a lot of options. Decathlon has some good tents in aluminium options. Gipfel also has some options in aluminium, and there are some other brands as well. But I don't know if they are doing it for that altitude. I know they do for the lower altitudes. But yeah, those two brands I would say look for aluminium. Look for at least something which is lighter, because I'm assuming you are carrying it at that altitude. So not more than 2.5 kilos for two people for sure.
Right. Right. I think that answers. The rest were probably just a few higher lows and nothing much. So, yeah, cool, man. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Pleasure's mine.
We'll put it out on YouTube as well, and I'll let you know.
Sure.
Thanks, Ravi.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.